Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining us today. On the screen, we have Dennis, who's joined us. He's on Korea time. So I'd like to say a very huge thank you because it's already night on his time zone. But he has chosen to join us and to talk about his job, his career, and how he got in so that he can serve as motivation to other people on the African continent who are interested in getting into the embedded systems programming field. So I will start with the first question, which is how would you introduce yourself?
Thank you very much, and thank you for the initiative for organizing this interview for promoting embedded systems in Africa. Yeah, so my name is Dennis Semyalo, and I'm a Ugandan, and I'm an embedded systems developer.
Fantastic. And how long have you been an embedded developer?
I have been an embedded systems developer for approximately 2 years. Sure. Before I started programming embedded systems, I I used to program in C++, and also I used to do MATLAB programming, and also add at least a little basics on Python programming.
So I'm wondering, what schools did you attend and in what country?
Okay, well, yeah, I did my primary education at Kabarmaido. Did my ordinary level at Teso College, Aloet, and my advanced level at St. Mary's College, Zubi, which is also in Uganda. And then for my undergraduate degree, I pursued agricultural engineering at Makerere University, which is one of the most prestigious universities in Uganda. And then for my masters, I got a scholarship at Chungnam National University, which is a university in South Korea. And I've been majoring in agricultural machinery engineering. And I'm planning to graduate in February of this year. So I also got a scholarship to pursue my PhD in smart agricultural systems engineering, and I'll be beginning in March 2022, still at Chungnam National University.
That is awesome news. It's great. I like the fact that you have a background from Uganda. So what that means is people who are in East Africa do not have an excuse of telling us that they can't master this field because they're in East Africa. Because we have an example of someone from East Africa who is already in the field. He's been there for 2 years. So tell us, Dennis, how did you get into embedded systems development?
Well, this is interesting. So my journey into embedded systems development started when I came to South Korea. Yeah, so embedded systems as a field is multidisciplinary. It cuts across all fields, whether you're in medicine or you're in transport or you're in military. At least there is embedded systems in all the different sectors. Yeah, so sometimes I use embedded systems in my field of agriculture. Yeah, but then the other important aspect that I want to bring out is actually my passion and interest that I have towards embedded systems, because most of the tech products that we see nowadays at least have a certain component of embedded systems. That's why I'm so much passionate and interested in embedded systems. And then the other thing that I would also want to note out that at least for the time that I've been here in South Korea, I met a Ugandan friend who studied robotics engineering here in South Korea, and he has had some experience working in companies that are based on embedded systems and semiconductors. Yeah, so when I met him, uh, he's a Ugandan and he's actually very good in hardware, and I'm good in software. So we teamed up and worked on a some projects, and then later we got some other two Ugandans who joined us, and we were able to form uh, an embedded systems startup company based in Uganda, which is called Language.
That is awesome news. Because in answering how you got in, you've also told us about more Ugandans in the field. And I'm really glad to hear that. Um, I think you've already answered the next question, but let's ask it again. So, what company and country do you work in?
Yeah, so the startup, which is the Tech Language, so we actually officially registered it as a startup company in Uganda in October 2021. So it's probably approximately 2 months old. Yeah, but our main aim is actually to start manufacturing uh, embedded systems products locally in Uganda. That is our mission. We want to start manufacturing these products in Uganda because it's actually very easy to manufacture them.
And what microcontrollers or embedded platforms do you prototype on?
Uh, yeah, so in as Tech Language, we basically do a prototype on STM32 microcontrollers, and even in the development of custom printed circuit boards, we also still do it on STM32 microcontrollers.
Okay, fantastic. So, yeah, I'm aware that the STM32, which is from ST Microelectronics, runs the Embed OS. So, which of the IDEs do you work with?
And then for the case of the development environment that we use, there's so many out there on the market. Yeah, but currently we use STM32 Cube IDE as the development environment. And we simply use it because it has the aspect of STM32 Cube MX, which is already embedded inside. So you have your entire project. You can easily program because you do the code generation and the programming within the same IDE. So it's a bit convenient. That's why we use STM32 Cube IDE.
So, what advice would you give to aspiring embedded developers? So, this is our last question, really. So, what would you say to someone who walks up to you in a supermarket and say, "I love what you're doing. How do I get started?"
And so the advice I would give to someone who is aspiring to be an embedded system developer would be actually showing them that they're actually on the right track. Because nowadays, if you're to look at most of the tech products, at least most of them have a certain component of embedded systems. So that is already a motivation to know that I'm entering into the thing, but I'm going to be able to manufacture a product which is going to be used by different people. Yeah, so and most of the thing that I understand about embedded systems, once you understand the scale, it's actually very easy. It's your brain that is to limit you to the amount of any the product that you can be able to produce. Yeah, so I would just encourage them that embedded systems is actually the state of the art. It's the way to go, and that will be already something that that will be so much encouraging. And actually, as Africa, we can be able to manufacture these embedded systems products and that are tailored to the conditions in Africa, other than just depending on products which are being imported from other countries.
Thank you so much. I think you've said my mind, which is trying to convince people that we can do our own manufacturing and that we don't have to import everything. Um, so I'd like to say a very huge thank you for taking time out. I know the whole world is busy, yeah, and I know it's probably past 8 p.m. Um, or 9 p.m. So it's we've taken some of your time. So thank you so much. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, if you have any questions. Um, Not specifically, right? But it depends. So we've got this specialization which is called mechatronics in some universities. So it's a hybrid of mechanical and electronics engineering. And so one or two students have told me that they were taught Arduino um, in that specialization, right? Um, but I don't know the extent to which they're taught. So I don't know what the curriculum is. But one of the goals also for me is to reach university students. And so I'm glad, I'm just going to make a note here. So I'm glad that you're already doing that because what it means is when we have resources, we can send those resources across to you. So something that I haven't mentioned, and even part of the learning challenge that I was talking about is I'm aware, I'm fully African. Sure, you can see that from my skin. Also resident on the continent, and I've traveled around a bit. I've been to Uganda as part of my you know, my work with the developer communities. I've traveled through Uganda, so I landed at Entebbe. I traveled all the way to Mbale. So you can imagine that I've spent more than a day. So some people will arrive at the country and stay in a five-star hotel. But I've been around. I've seen the sugar plantations. I've seen the banana plantations. I've eaten matoke. Um, Yeah, I just haven't lived in Uganda. So I understand the problems that we have. And one of the challenges, of course, is even, access to the microcontrollers. As much as you want to teach people, um, we know that laptops are expensive, right? But if you have money, you can go out and buy a laptop. It's pretty easy, right? Um, Phones are expensive, but if you have money, you can go out and buy an Android phone. So if you're teaching people Android development, all donors need to do is give you cash, right? And you're fine. If you have $10,000 in Uganda, you can go and buy a lot of phones, and as you go to the schools, you can hand them out. You can teach easily. But how do you get these microcontroller development boards is one huge challenge, right? And then, the whole manufacturing bottleneck. So COVID came and, so some people understand some problems, but the problems are huge, right? If you talk to automotive manufacturers, they tell you about the shortage of chips, all of that problem. So part of the goal is to be able to get microcontroller development boards to learners. That's really the whole point of the challenge. Of course, there are other things, bringing people together, forming a community, getting people to support each other and all of that. Um, so there are two courses that I'm looking at. Both of them are on edX. But there's a third course, but it's not ready. So the second course is focused on embed OS, and it uses the STM32 as well. But the embed core itself, um, so ARM is looking to supplant that with Kyle Studio. I don't know if you've encountered Kyle Studio, but they're looking to supplant that with Kyle Studio. So ARM Education is working on a new course that uses Kyle Studio instead of embed OS. I'm hoping that that course can come out before the second quarter of the year so that we can, get people on that course. The first course is tiny machine learning. Um, so that uses an Arduino Nano 33 BLE board, but it's easy to substitute that with a bunch of other boards. The long and short of it being that the Arduino Nano 33 BLE is out of stock. A lot of things are out of stock, right? But I've spoken to, I was at the ARM Developer Summit last year. I remote, but based off of talking about the challenges that we have on the continent, they were able to take that and start talking to some of the manufacturers. So I've been on a call with um, Sparkfun Electronics, um, and they've promised to get back to us. I think maybe by next week or the third week in January, they'll get back to us about how we can get boards from them. They will even donate some boards. We need to pay for some, but we will get a plan about what sort of staggered arrangement we're going to have to get the boards. There's also logistics, but that's even by the way. We have Arduino scheduled for some point in time. ST Microelectronics is also scheduled for us to speak with. So once we can get all of these boards, um, the 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 course that is embed specific, it's a specialization, so it's like a certification on edX. It's two courses. You need the board for the second course. So you can take the first course without the board, but you need the board for the second course. So the plan is once we get learners enrolled, take the first course, sign up for the first course, send us proof that you signed up for the first course. We will reserve a board for you. And we will also motivate you as you go along. So you need about 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks to take a course. We will send weekly motivational emails. We will form a group. You will have a mentor or more than one mentor. And then once you're done with that first course, just send us proof that you're done with the first course, and we will ship the board off to you. And then when you get the board, you can start your second course. So that way, you're not here thinking, oh, I've heard all the good things, but I can't even buy a board. I go to the manufacturer website, it's out of stock. I walk down the street to the guy who sells phones, I can't get a board, right? Same thing with the tiny machine learning course uh, certificate. It's three courses, but you need your kit for the third course. So if you sign up for the first course, send us proof. We'll do all the work that we need to do, get you to complete the first course. Once you complete the first course, sign up for the second course, send us proof. We'll reserve your board, complete the second course, and send us proof, and then we will ship the hardware to you. So what we're trying to do is to also be accountable to donors, right? Such that we're able to say we're not just shipping boards across the continent, but we can see that these people are committed to learning. They've started, they've made some progress, and so for that reason, we believe that we can send them this board, and sooner or later they'll be able to, make something out of it. We're not asking everybody to start a company or anything, but the chicken and egg problem. With enough learners, we can then say, hey, here's a potential talent pool for you to recruit from, right? And then people can start recruiting. And based off of that, other people like yourself can then say, hey, if there are people who can work, then I have this idea and, I can create my startup. And then we can, once we get past that point, even start having all those conversations about how do you do manufacturing, right? How do you design a printed circuit board? How do you fabricate a PCB? How do you get the components? How do you solder them onto the board? That sort of thing. But it's always gradual, right? These are huge dreams, but we need to be able to take them one step at a time, give ourselves time. Because sometimes when you try to rush yourself, you look back and then you say, hey, I tried to do this, I couldn't do it, I'm giving up. But if you give yourself time, if in my head I'm thinking, hey, this is a 4-year plan, right? then I'm not rushing myself. Maybe first year, all I'm interested in is people learning. Second year, okay, more people learning, but now we're talking about design, PCB design, and things like that. Third year, now we're talking about PCB fabrication. Fourth year, now we're talking about that sort of thing. We're not saying it couldn't happen in 2 years, but I'm not trying to make it happen in 12 months. All right. Thank you so much. So much. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Robert, for having me.